We are going to start with our first panel, and it's not even 9:15, and we are coming in hot today with our first one. But before we get going with our first panel, a couple cleanup items. For those of you standing in the back, if you would like to take a seat, then please feel free to come forward. You are allowed to do so. There is some space up in the front. And also on your table, you got a cute little Sam the Eagle social media card. Just a reminder, you can get connected with all of the great things LA84 Foundation is doing. This tells you how. And feel free today, of course, to be talking about all that is being discussed on social media. You can tweet, you can Facebook, Instagram, and please use the hashtag #PlayingForward. Okay, and on to our first panel. I literally can think of no better moderator for this panel, because this panel is about the impact on youth sports, not just from LA84, but fingers crossed, the impact that will be with LA 2024. And the moderator of this panel is a man who's been synonymous with the Olympic movement for over 2 decades. He's a best-selling author. He's an award-winning sports writer. He's a lecturer at USC's Annenberg's School of Communication and Journalism. Put your hands together for your moderator today, Mr. Alan Abrahamson. Hi, how are you? Hi.
Morning, everyone. This feels like couples therapy up here. If it were couples therapy, Janet would be sitting on that side of the couch, and I'd be sitting on this side of the couch. So there you go. Now it's couples therapy. So how do you really feel, Janet?
Let me tell you.
Good morning, and this is quite a difference from the prior summits. Congratulations to everybody involved in putting this one on. I think everyone knows my 2 friends up here, Casey Wasserman and Janet Evans. We thought we'd start with just a little bit of Olympic trivia. Who knows why Olympic Boulevard is called Olympic Boulevard? That's right.
We're not
Say it louder. Okay, so we have a little bit of Olympic history in Los Angeles. I'll let Casey, why is Olympic Boulevard called Olympic Boulevard?
Because the 1932 Olympics were the 10th Olympiad, and Olympic Boulevard is 10th Street.
10th Street. So, we've had the Olympics here in 1932, of course, and in 1984. These charming people are bidding for 2024. It's been my privilege to write about the games and be on TV and talk about the games and bids. I've covered every bid since 1999. It's my opinion that we are really at a transitional moment in Olympic history, a pivotal moment. And we wanted to start today by having Casey walk through a little bit of the LA 2024 idea. So if we could get the bid logo up, please, that would be super helpful. There we are. Why don't we start with this, Casey? This is a very different logo than anything I've seen probably in 20 years. What's the story behind the angel?
Well, I think one of the things when you start to bid, one of the few things you actually get excited about doing is the bid logo, because it's kind of the manifestation of what you're trying to represent. And LA is obviously a tremendous place, but at the time, we're not Rome with the Colosseum, we're not Paris with the Eiffel Tower, or we're not Budapest with the Danube and the bridges. We obviously have things like the Hollywood sign, but we lack that iconic building. And one day we were sitting around in a meeting and we realized that our bid wasn't about buildings and it wasn't about legacy structures. Our bid was about the ideals of Olympism, and we are truly the city of angels. And I don't have one, but Janet, who's got a lot of gold medals, tells me that an angel that looks a lot like this is on every gold medal. And so you've got an angel that represents what Olympians aspire to in a city that is about the city of angels with a great multicultural and diverse history. And what a better way to present the true difference between the bids in this process and the starting point than using an angel who's athletic, a female, aspirational, athletic, leaping upwards as a representative of our bid. And it sort of struck immediately, and we all fell in love with it, and here we are.
So all kinds of segues and transitions there. We're here today to talk about youth sports. For those who don't know the history of LA84, it started off with the surplus of the 1984 Games, about $95 million. Since then, the foundation has invested some $250 million in youth sports around 3 million kids, trained 80,000 coaches. One of the key differentiators, as you talked about, is legacy. And at the risk of asking the easiest question of all time, what is the thing that makes the LA bid different?
Well, I would say a few things. One, when you think about 84, there are two tremendous legacies, obviously. The LA84 Foundation is the most incredible sort of living, breathing legacy of an Olympic Games in history. The second piece is, we all talk about our poll numbers here, and 88% approval for hosting the Olympic Games. That is a direct result of the success of 1984. People in LA are not afraid, and actually quite the opposite. We embrace the idea of hosting the Games. So that is a foundation point. But what is different about LA is really simple. Our competitors are beautiful, historic cities, and LA is a new modern city that's about what's next. And we can focus on what's next because we've got a foundation of support, and we've got a foundation of facilities that allow us to spend our time not worrying about building buildings and delivery, but about executing and the experience. And our legacy, we believe in 2024, starts the day we win the bid.
So another perfect transition. You're making this too easy on me, Casey. Can we put up the map, please? So to make this super easy, basically, if Los Angeles wins, there would have to be one venue that's built, one canoe slalom venue. Everything else is here, and if you could walk us through a little bit of all that, Casey, that would be awesome.
So the concept we've been working on is really sports parks, so aggregations of a large group of sports. Obviously, the living, breathing heartbeat of our bid is downtown LA. What has happened downtown LA, the hotel you're sitting in would very likely be the IOC hotel, but to be able to have that hotel connected to the quantity of venues is pretty staggering between Microsoft Theater, Staples Center, the Convention Center, and then you're just a mile and a half down Figueroa, which we view as sort of our new Olympic Boulevard, to USC. Along the way, you hit the Shrine, the Galen Center, and then you're on to USC campus. That is 19 sports and an incredible place for Angelenos to connect with an Olympic Games. We have a Valley Sports Park, which is equestrian, shooting and canoe slalom, obviously bringing the Olympics to the Valley for the first time because they weren't in the Valley. There were no events in the Valley in 1984. UCLA extending to the beach. Obviously, UCLA would be the athletes' village. So a month ago, UCLA students moved into the dorms on campus. More students moved into dorms than athletes would move in during a Games. Without flaw, without challenges. They are feeding those students every day. They are housing those students every day. They are doing laundry for those students every day. That's an operational ability that no other city in the world has. Obviously, we would use Poly Pavilion for both judo and wrestling, and then down to the beach, obviously, for beach volleyball, and along the way, stop at Riviera for some golf. StubHub Center, which we would call, since we're not allowed to use corporate names, South Bay Sports Park, has a bunch of events: rugby, tennis, velodrome, and field hockey. And then down to Long Beach, a bunch of sports, and Long Beach has been a great advocate. And a lot of the feedback that we get from federations is every federation from around the world has come to LA. We've met with everyone twice, and when they're done with their LA visits, it will have been 3 full visits. And we asked them, where do you want to be in LA? So take triathlon. We said, pick anywhere you want, we'll put it. You want to be in Malibu, you want to be in Hermosa Beach, you want to be in Palos Verdes, you want to be in Santa Monica, and they pick Long Beach. And you know why they pick Long Beach? Because they love the idea that the Long Beach Grand Prix, as this historic car race, could be the same kind of model for triathlon race, and they could do loops there. You obviously have the ocean there, and the running course all there. And so they picked Long Beach. And then we went to the Sailing Federation, and then they picked Long Beach, which is where sailing was in '84. The winds are great. They actually want to launch a bunch of their sports from the beach. So now all of a sudden, you've got that, you've got an arena there, you can build a temporary water polo stadium and a BMX stadium, and all of a sudden you've got 6 sports in Long Beach. And our ability to offer venues to multiple choices to federations is a huge opportunity. And so this plan is evolutionary. We obviously started from one place. It has evolved. It's pretty close to what you would likely see in 2024. We think it's an unbelievably good plan. The other thing about it being a little bit spread out is there are hotels all over LA. So when you think about the impact on the city, you can stay near the events you would go to. And that minimizes movement and traffic, engages the entire city. As the mayor likes to say, this isn't about regenerating one neighborhood with billions of dollars. This is about regenerating the entire city with billions of dollars, and that's what we're doing here.
So all of these things mean that the organizing committee, if there is to be one, doesn't have to spend literally hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion or more on buildings, which has been the Olympic model for sure since Barcelona in 1992. And if Los Angeles was transitional, Barcelona was also a pivotal moment, and I think now again we're at one of those moments in Olympic history. The idea, I'll ask both of you this, the idea that, the reason I like covering the Olympics is you see the effect of one-to-one change in our broken world. You really see how the Olympics can inspire young people. So Casey, first about the plan, and then Janet, if you wouldn't mind telling everybody your story about how you were inspired as a little girl and then went on to do all the great things that you've done.
Look, this is, if you believe in the power of the Olympic movement, I think the opportunity that LA presents the Olympic movement is the right bid at the right place at the right time. And this is all about engaging with the world and re-engaging with the youth in a unique way. It's not that other bids in other cities don't think about it. Of course they think about how do we get youth activated, how do we connect with kids, how do we use the ideals of Olympism to create a better society or communities. Everyone thinks about it. You'd be crazy not to think about it. The point is, they don't have 2 things that we do to actually make it happen, time and money.
Right.
We will have both time and money.
7 years from day one.
7 years, from September 13th, 2017 to sometime in July 2024. We will be focused on nothing but that. And that is truly the power of our bid and truly the opportunity that we have.
So that is a huge differentiator. And the Olympics, for all the problems that keep me employed, still retain an incredible power to inspire people. Janet?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's wonderful to be here today. I am a legacy of the '84 Olympics and in many ways of the '84 Foundation. I was a kid in 1984, grew up in Orange County. My parents brought us to the opening ceremonies. I was a little swimmer, funny stroke, everyone told me I couldn't do it. I sat there and I watched Rafer light that cauldron, and I told myself I was going to do it. And so the '84 Olympics inspired me. And then as I was, moving up through the ranks of the Olympic world, to have this as my core, to have this as my base, to have Anita and the LA84 Foundation, and the inspiration that provided me was instrumental in my athletic career. So when Casey asked me to come along to join this journey to bring the games home, it was certainly a dream for me. And my role at the bid is on the athlete side. So every day, my team and I sit down and think, what can we do to make this better for the athletes? I think in many ways, looking at past Olympics, the athletes have gotten a little bit lost in the shuffle. It's become bigger than the athletes in many ways. So with the things Casey said, in that we can focus 7 years on operations, we can focus 7 years on making things whole, we can focus on the athletes. So we're looking at things for athletes that are unprecedented, and we'll have the budget to do that. We'll have the finances to do that. We want the athletes to come to Los Angeles and have the greatest Olympic and Paralympic experience that they could ever imagine and have that be the future for Olympic legacy on the athlete side. And in that, of course, we want these athletes to inspire whole new generations. And I think that any Olympic bid or any Olympic city can say that they inspire generations of children because they do. But clearly, with LA84 guiding us on a daily basis, that's something we plan on continuing as well as a youth organization, a youth culture that really makes an impact and changes kids and gives them pathways to things they never could have imagined.
So in that context, can we have the next picture, please, Janet? You've been an active proponent of teaching kids to swim. I don't know how many of you know this. If I had enough money to change the world, I would teach every kid to swim, because 9 people a day drown in the United States every single day. Yeah. So Janet, talk about some of these experiences and the power of connecting with young people in this way.
First of all, that's my daughter who turned 10 2 days ago. So I'm like, it feels like it was yesterday. So I'm like, wow, how did that happen? So yeah, that's my daughter Sydney. I put her in the water at 3 months. I put my son, who's a little younger, in at 7 weeks. Drowning prevention, before Casey brought me onto the bid, drowning prevention was a lot of what I worked on. Clearly the statistics are staggering, and living here in Southern California, especially as a mom, that's what you're concerned about. So my work with the foundation began a long time ago, clearly, but once I had children, to be a part of their summer swim program and to go to the John Argue Swim Center every summer, and there's another picture where the kids are all around us, and to give children the opportunity to swim, to give kids the opportunity that might not have had the chance to be in a pool to learn how to swim. I learned how to swim when I was Sydney's age, my daughter's age, because my mom can't swim and was never given the opportunity for that when she was young. So this is what the foundation does. Yeah. And I spoke at an event last night for LA84, and I told the story of when I came home from the Olympics, and I was still in high school, and I had 3 gold medals, and I thought I was very special, and I wasn't doing my chores, and I wasn't doing my homework. I was fancy, right? And my parents sat me down, and they said, hey, this is fantastic, but you're still, just because you swim faster doesn't mean you get out of all of these things. And so they said, you have these medals, so the question is now, what do you do with it? I was barely 17, but they said you have the rest of your life with these medals, do something besides not your chores, make a difference in the world, right? And so for me, and it pulls back into why we feel so strongly about bringing the games home, because it gives people and young people and all of us a platform to change things for the better. And so for me, working with the foundation on the summer swim program was one of the things my parents told me about so many years ago, which was make a difference, impart change through whatever avenues you have. So this is something I feel very strongly about, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, no knock on the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball or MLS or whatever, but this is truly what separates the Olympics from everything else. Is this one-to-one change and one-to-one inspiration? Janet, one more question, and then we're going to open it up for questions from the floor. You've gone around and had a series of athlete town hall meetings. What have been some of the most interesting or provocative or otherwise things you've heard in these meetings?
So on my side on the bid, we want athletes to be involved. Usually it's a bid committee organizing things, but Casey and our team said, you need to engage the athletes. So we started a series of athlete town halls with the support of the U.S. Olympic Committee. My team and I have traveled around the country. We've met with over 500 Olympians and Paralympians in person, some of them foreign, most of them American, and had town halls very similar to this one. The last one we did was about a month ago in Washington with the returning athletes. We had about 250 of the Rio Olympians and Paralympians join us. The first comment we received from every athlete is, thank you. No one's ever asked me before. No one's ever asked me what I thought of this. No one ever asked me, what I would change in the swimming pool or the soccer field or the village. Thank you for allowing me to use my brain. and thanks for making me a part of this. So we basically opened these forums up. We actually copied the mayor's town hall series that he did right after he was elected in his first term. And we have things that we're writing into our bid literally as we speak. I want more pictures of myself. I want to meet other Olympians. I want an avenue for socializing with other athletes. Crazy stuff. I need more space to party in the village. I need more quiet time in the village. I need this, I need that. I need my friends and family to feel more welcomed. And those are things we feel could differentiate us from other bids, because we can go to the IOC members, the voting members, and many of those members are athletes, and say to them, hey, we're thinking about the athletes, and when you come, when your National Olympic Committee comes here, your athletes will feel that they have the best performance avenues and the best socializing and the best Olympic experience they can have.
So the clock says we have just under 10 minutes. Perfect timing for this. So if we have questions from the floor, there should be mics around if anybody has a question.
Hi, I'm from Pasadena. What is your take on the powerful social media phenomenon with today's athletes or kids who want to become athletes? What advice do you give them regarding the management of social media?
Everybody hear the question? What advice would Janet or Casey have about the advent of social media and the management of social media in today's Olympic and athletic environment?
I'm older than Casey, but I'll take the question, although I'm not the social media person, but clearly we use social media a lot within our bid. It has been such a force for us to engage athletes from all over the world. So for us on the bid level, it's a very powerful tool, not only just for the engagement side of it, but also we're competitors, right? We're both competitive people, and we want to show the other cities what incredible things our bid is doing on a daily basis. So you betcha that this is going to be tweeted and snapped and Instagrammed and Facebooked out the second we walk out of this room, because we want members who all engage us on these social media networks to understand what we're doing to impart change within our own society on the athletic side. I think on the youth side, young people engage with their fans this way. And we hope at the LA 2024 bid that we can continue that. We have a lot of young people that understand and follow and know about our bid solely because of social media. So clearly, I'm not the expert, Casey probably knows more, but clearly it is a very powerful tool, and it is a very important and large part of our bid.
One of my former students, who's now an accomplished professional, is here. He could walk you through the rights and wrongs, do's and don'ts of using social media. So who's got a next question, please?
Thank you. My name is David Collicutt. I'm from the Geffen Academy at UCLA, and I'm a high school athletic director. And thinking about the time frame, a lot of athletes right now are participating, or maybe not, in high school athletics. What is the foundation doing to engage high school athletes in preparation for the bid?
You're the athlete. I mean.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, one thing we also speak about on a daily basis at the bid is we'll probably be calling you. We're working with athletes. First of all, we're trying to find every Olympian and Paralympian who has had a tie to the Los Angeles area, whether a current Olympian, whether they still live here. So we're always pulling from that. But we are engaging youth in many ways, and one of them is through the Ready, Set, Gold program, which is an educational program that pairs Olympians, and many of them are LA 2024 Olympians and Paralympians, with schools from around the LAUSD to promote the values of Olympism, and now with the bid process to educate the youth and students of LAUSD about our bid process. So, clearly every bid city says they will engage youth. And I think our challenge is how do we best engage our youth? And so, the LAUSD is working with us, the Ready, Set, Gold program is working with us, and I think in the next few months, that's something that will become even more important. We have an evaluation commission, about 20, 30 members of the IOC coming to Los Angeles in April of next year. And that's something where we need to show support, and we talk often about showing that through youth engagement, through youth athletes and students promoting and supporting our bid, because those are the athletes that in 7-8 years could potentially be Olympians and Paralympians.
The IOC does a not very good job of conveying its 3 core values, which are respect, excellence, and friendship. Those are the 3 key Olympic values. And the differentiator about a Los Angeles bid is that if you don't have to build buildings, you have 7 years to think about how to convey those 3 things to that incredibly important audience. Next.
There's one in the back, I think.
In the back?
Yeah. Go ahead. You already got it.
Hi, I'm Cindy Whitehead, former professional pro skateboarder from Los Angeles. And I know that we have skateboarding being included in the 2020 Olympics. Now, if we did have the Olympics here, is that something we'd be pushing forward to get its inclusion in 2024? And where would you think for a venue?
Bid cities are explicitly prohibited from talking about sports they would put in the Olympics. The reason being, they don't want you to use your talk about including sports in Olympics to curry favor with IOC members who are associated with those sports. I don't think there's a lot of IOC members who skate, to be fair. There are other sports you could talk about including that might curry favor with certain members, but nonetheless, look, obviously skateboarding, surfing, they're part of the culture. 3-on-3 basketball, these are part of the culture of Los Angeles. These are sports that were frankly created in Los Angeles. So if we're fortunate enough to win, that's obviously a conversation we'd love to have with the IOC. We think it would be wonderful. I think what you're going to see those sports evolve into are displayed differently, not about security perimeters, not about paid seats. I think you're going to figure out how to engage with the community, engage with fans, frankly, in a way that is, non-traditional for Olympic events. So, in LA, you could imagine, skateboarding in Venice Beach, if, it's like sort of where those things happen, very naturally and in a very cool and unique way. So, obviously, we can't commit to any sports, we can't talk about the sports, but we're very happy that those are the kind of sports that Tokyo's looking at including, and we'd be honored to at least be in that conversation.
Since I'm not a member of the bid committee, I'll say what Casey can't, which is like for sure. Okay, so one more question. Yeah.
We can hear you.
Without the microphone, I was very involved in the '84 Olympics, and at that time, we were scared to death as a result of Montreal. The previous Olympics had run enormous debts, and the city of LA and all of us were scared to death of the situation, the economic situation. So the construct of that Olympics under Peter Uberoth was that we all volunteered. We all ran to the Olympics, and we all volunteered and worked our brains out. And so not only did we save money on the construction end, but the operational end. So although you've talked about the construction not happening, could you talk a little bit about the construct of the economics? Because we're all here in LA84 because of the hard work that we all did. And you haven't talked a little bit about that. If you could talk about the construct.
Yeah, look, I'm not, we're in a budget process with the city, so I'm not going to get in the weeds too much. Obviously, the economics of the Olympic Games has changed radically since 1984. 1984 sold its own sponsorship rights without restriction, sold its own TV rights without restriction. Those days are over, and it's a different time and place. Having said that, the IOC will, for whoever wins the 2024 Games, will write them a check for $1.7 billion the day they win.
Just like that.
So that's where you start from. And if you just take the average revenue from ticketing and sponsorship and don't include Tokyo, but just take London and Rio, those numbers together with the 1.7 put us in a plus $5 billion revenue range, and we're very certain we can deliver these games in the most responsible and excellent way, well within that budget. But the good thing about the process in Los Angeles is our budget's going to be real. The budget we deliver is certain. It's certain for a couple reasons. One, because we know what the requirements are to host an Olympic Games beyond just having the venues. And because we don't have to build things, we've got very little construction and delivery risk. And those are the big question marks. And so you take those combination, and then we have a very engaged process with the city. The city has hired a third-party auditor to audit our financials. So when we deliver our budget to the IOC, it will not only be a budget that we've done with great work, with true experts in the field, with great confidence and great certainty, it will have been audited by a third party and voted on by a city council. No other city in the world can say that. No other city in the world has ever gone through that process with an Olympic budget. That's why Olympic budgets are built on fantasy, because they're done in a vacuum. And then when you go to host the games, if you win, you got to actually make that happen. Ours is not like that. Ours is totally different. I don't have to figure out what the Olympic Village is going to cost. I know what it costs because it exists today. You know, I know the Coliseum renovation that USC is going to do, and I know what we have to spend on top of that. I do want to make one other point, which is one of the great other things to come out of 1984 is this sort of legacy of volunteerism. And there's an incredible heartbeat and drumbeat of volunteers who are connected with 84. We've actually tried to figure out how to connect with all of them, as well as all the athletes who are from 84. It's an incredible legacy of 1984. And we think, you know, 2024 can do that again on a whole other level. But we're very comfortable with our financial situation. We're very confident in our ability to deliver the games, obviously on budget. And the economics of the Olympics in Los Angeles, we think, are pretty uniquely compelling.
So with that, we're just slightly over our time. I want to thank you all for attending our couple session today.
It's good.
And it's been a pleasure and a privilege to be here. September 13th, 2017 is the day the IOC will meet in Lima, Peru to pick the 2024 site. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, darling. See you soon. Thanks, Alan. Big round of applause for, of course, Casey for all the work he's put in, but Janet rocking it for the athletes. I love it. It's so needed as well. It's so nice to see. I've covered the last 5 Olympics, and to Alan's point, the storyline is always, as we know here in this room, about how much money is being spent to build the Olympics. And when you see Sochi spending $51 billion to build an Olympics, it breaks your heart.